But definitionally, what I mean by hooked in and being emotionally in agile is when your thoughts, your emotions, and your stories are driving your actions rather than your values and your true intentions. So examples might be, a thought might be something like, I'm not good enough. I want to apply for the job. I know I've got the skills, but I'm not going to get it. So I don't apply. Or I, would love to go to the party, but I'm anxious of being rejected, so I'm going to stay home. Or my husband's starting in on the finances and I don't like it. So when we hooked, what's happening is, there's this beautiful, beautiful idea that I talk about in the book, which many of your listeners will have heard, which is this Viktor Frankl, who survives the Nazi death camps, speaks to this idea that between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space is our power to choose. And it's in that choice that comes our growth and freedom. When we hooked, when our thoughts, our emotions, and our stories drive us, there's no space between stimulus and response. So we have a thought, we have an emotion, or we have a story about whether we're good enough, valuable enough. Some of these stories were written on our mental chalkboards in grade 3, and they've become a prison around ourselves. And so what starts to happen is there's no space between stimulus and response. We think, we are, we feel, and we just act. So core aspects of becoming unhooked and the core underpinnings of emotional agility, I talk about it in 4 very practical ways in the book. And that's not to imply that like it's step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. But really I talk about these 4 movements, if you like. The first is about being able to show up to ourselves in ways that are curious and compassionate and not in struggle with ourselves. So where we're actually able to extend compassion to the fact that you might have a story about your value in life, or you might have a story about what relationship you deserve. And that story's probably come from somewhere. Human beings are story-making machines. And actually we as human beings, one of the things that sets us apart is this making of stories and the idea that creating stories helps to keep a coherent narrative in our lives. That
makes sense of our world
it helps us to say, well, the noise that I'm hearing is the whirring from the washing machine. We can't. We would be on cognitive overload if we were assessing every single stimulus in our lives anew every single day. So human beings are story-making machines. We have 16,000 spoken thoughts every single day and many millions more course through our minds. So what starts to happen is we have all of these thoughts, emotions, and we've got a particular area of our brains called the angular gyrus, and the angular gyrus is the crossroad of our memory, taste, visual, sensation. And so what starts to happen is we don't just have a thought like Dr. Spock, I'm having a thought that I'm being attacked, or I'm having this emotion. Our thoughts are experienced in technicolor. We have memories, the last time this person spoke to me, how this felt when I was a child. And so as human beings, we are wired to have these visually real experiences that are these stories woven in these particular ways. And this is actually a key aspect of our survival as human beings. It enables us to say, this person who is about to attack me is not smiling. They're about to attack me because I've got a memory of what happened previously. So stories are normal. And I think one of the things that I really stress in this book is that it's not that having stories is bad. In fact, sometimes the stories that we've had in our childhoods have helped us to survive those childhoods, have been functional and helpful for us. But what starts to happen is when you bring an old story into a new situation in ways that don't serve you. So, for instance, if you have a story that I don't deserve to be loved, and you then find someone who loves you, and we're then acting in ways to push that person away, you've got a story that's not serving you.
Right.
And so in the book, I talk about these ideas of, being able to be open to what that story taught you, how it might have actually helped you in the past, and then ways to start getting some perspective around that story and noticing the story for what it is, a story, one of many stories, but that doesn't need to own you.